Have you ever wondered how it could be possible for the Aztecs to move their treasures north 1,500 miles to Utah? There were no cars, trains, or planes, so how could this monumental quest be possible? My goal today is to share with you the realistic, plausible, achievable, known methods used by the Aztecs to move and hide their treasures. My theories are not based on fiction or myths, but they are based on a solid, factual foundation of truth. Lots of these facts are now available for any other researcher to find, especially today with the advent of the internet. My family's generational knowledge, research, and information have enabled us to connect the dots that others have not. We have also tapped into the source of hidden knowledge, not easily accessible to others. Now, some have called this invisible source of knowledge and wisdom the Akashic records, but I call it divine, cosmic mind. So this is where I go to receive intuition and inspiration, connecting the collection of historical facts, oral tradition, and cosmic wisdom that reconstruct the events from the past in the mind's eye of imagination to share with you today. It is the way that my grandfather was also able to achieve the seeming impossible. The quote-unquote theories I am about to share with you cannot be disproved. And although I'm not trying to make you a believer in anything I'm saying, my hope is that you will feel that you have heard a legitimate theory that has been presented to you, that it is absolutely plausible for Montezuma to have moved his kingdom's treasures north to Utah over 1,500 miles. We believe Montezuma began moving the Aztec treasures 10 to 12 years before Cortez ever arrived. And we also believe that it was after the Night of Tears that Montezuma himself led the last of the treasures back to Utah. I will get into more details about the 10 to 12 year advance notice that Montezuma had of the impending ending of the empire in a future episode. But right now I am here to share a brief overview of how the treasure was moved. Montezuma's treasure is estimated to be priceless, and by today's standards worth billions, maybe even trillions of dollars. We know it was a vast amount of treasure: gold, silver, artifacts, jewels, ancient relics, ancient records, and so much more. So how was this mind-blowing amount of treasure moved? That is the question. Well, Montezuma was the king, the emperor of the Aztecs. He was also a highly advanced soul. He was the high priest. He was taught the esoteric mysteries, the same type of schooling as the Egyptian high priest and other advanced civilizations would have known. He was taught the secrets of the sciences, mathematics, astronomy. He was also taught the planning and military strategies. So he was not only a king, but the supreme leader in every aspect of the human experience. So Montezuma had the knowledge and expertise to lead a critical mission of this magnitude. Montezuma had an army and navy like today's superpowers. So Montezuma used his large elite force of warriors, some of which were called the Raramuri or the Taharamara. Think of them as Montezuma's elite covert Navy SEALs, rangers, and extreme athletes for carrying messages, products, or whatever else Montezuma wanted sent, traded, or received from one part of his kingdom or even to another kingdom. So Montezuma would need the manpower to move the treasure. He would need trained warriors who could carry out this critical mission. And so we now have the answer to the first question. Who could accomplish the job for Montezuma? It is the elite Aztec warriors and his elite runners. Cortez, in his letters to the King of Spain, said Montezuma had an elite group of amazingly fast runners to carry messages and items from one part of the Aztec kingdom to another. Cortez even said that the runners could collectively travel hundreds of miles easily in a short amount of time. Imagine how much they could have moved over a 10 to 12 year time frame. Now the next question you might ask is, how would they know where to go and how would they get there? We need a credible route for the Aztecs to take. Many may not know that the Aztecs had established trade routes. They had an expansive network of merchants and traders in place for generations, all throughout the Americas and all over the world. These are verifiable facts. Montezuma was even known to have a zoo, as we would call them today, where he had exotic animals, plants, objects, and people from all over the world on exhibit. This is also a verifiable fact. The Aztecs had also created an elaborate set of maps and markers to water sources. My grandfather called them sacred water stones, and these water glyphs would guide them safely on their return back to Aztlan. These water maps were available the entire north to south route and could provide life-sustaining water and natural resources for the thousands of warriors and runners on their journey back to Aztlan to hide their treasure. Archaeologists and researchers have now documented over 400 of these sacred water glyphs and are finally coming around to the idea of their true purpose. And most importantly, let us not forget that this would actually be the second time the Aztecs moved their entire empire of treasures and people. The first time was when they left Aztlan, traveling north to south in the founding of Tenochtitlan. So this is another verifiable fact. So it was possible for the Aztecs to have moved a great amount of people and treasures throughout the deserts, thousands of miles to Utah. They would have used their existing runners, warriors, and trade merchants, and their existing established trade routes that provided all the resources they needed to survive the journey. So the Aztecs could and would make this journey many times by land and by the great rivers. They would make these journeys over a 10 to 12 year time period. Then, as Montezuma's brother led the revolt against the Spanish, at the same time Montezuma had been faking his impending death, working with his brother again, fooling Cortez and his men for the final time. Immediately following the Night of Tears, Montezuma led an elite team of warriors back north to Utah with their most important sacred treasures: the ancient records of wisdom, the sciences, mathematics, astrology, technology, ancestry, and more. Because the Aztecs have always been one of the original keepers of the ancient records of Atlantis and the children of the stars. Now, I could spend hours, weeks, and months diving down deep into the many areas and details surrounding this simple but important episode. But for those who have never been able to fathom or wrap their minds around how it could even be possible for the Aztecs to travel to Utah or to move their vast treasures to hide in multiple locations throughout the Southwest, in Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona, I hope you can now see the absolute plausibility of it all being possible, that Montezuma had the leadership skills, the routes in place to take, the manpower to carry the treasures, and the generational knowledge to go back to their sacred lands, and that Montezuma's treasure is still out there, hidden in these locations, waiting to be discovered by the chosen ones. My name is Dan Dillman. Please share this episode with anyone you feel needs to hear this information. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Remember to check out our website at www.montezumastreasure.com. Follow me on Facebook at Montezuma's Treasure or on Instagram at Dillman Family. Catch up on the first season of History Channel's new #1 original series, Lost Gold of the Aztecs, featuring my wife Gina Dillman, my oldest son Derek Dillman, and myself, Dan Dillman.